Morning, sir.
Hello. How are you today?
Oh, it's my fault. I had my speakers off because I was looking at something I didn't want to listen to.
I get that.
Happens all the time.
Just a quick FYI, apparently the gardeners are a little bit late this morning, so they're still here, so I'll be on mute as much as necessary.
It's amazing how much the Zoom filters are capable of cutting out noise like that.
Really? Oh, good.
Yeah, I can actually hear that somebody's mowing a lawn there.
Okay, because he just drove by right now as you said that, so good. Never mind then.
It's not bad, but yeah.
Wow. Yeah, the timing is always impeccable. Like,
Yeah.
he must be paying. He's literally going back and forth. Like, dude, you've already hit that spot. But anyways.
Pretty sure that one's mowed. Cut it out. Yeah. A friend of mine has the leaf blower demons show up at her house every Tuesday morning before she's ready to be awake.
Yeah.
We they're called demons.
Yeah, we get our normal Friday early wake up, and they've started early, and we've got some weather going on, so I don't know if they're going slow for that reason, but today's unusual, but we deal with it.
Yeah. Well, I've got 16 train tracks across the street, so if you ever hear any shunting,
Really?
that's me.
Ah, 16?
Yeah, it's a rail yard.
Nice.
Yeah. So every now and then we have really heavy trains go by. I think they're fuel trains, and they last for like 5 minutes as they go by, and they very gently vibrate everything in the house, including me. Like, we're having a little earthquake today. That's fun.
Yeah, I can imagine that must be especially if you're not used to it, but I'm sure you guys just kind of deal with it these days, right?
Yeah, the first couple of months that I was here, I always noticed when they were out there doing whatever they were doing, but these days I don't even hear them. I have no idea if they're still doing things in the night because I don't hear them anymore.
Nice.
But it used to sound, I used to joke that it sounded like they were throwing a dumpster down the stairs. This makes so much noise. When the empty cars hammer into each other, they're just so loud.
Oh, yeah.
Better. There we go. Good morning. How's everybody?
Good,
I
good.
guess everybody's good. I don't know how anybody else is. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
I haven't seen you in ages. How you been? I'm gonna get to see a lot of you next week.
Yeah, how many times are we going to need to meet next week for the handover?
Depends on the amount of time you have available because it's going to take more than an hour. So
Okay.
if you have a big block of time, we could do it all
Okay.
at once. Like if we can coordinate that, but otherwise it'll probably be twice.
Easier to do it at somebody's house or a coffee shop, or what do you think?
As long as there's internet, yeah, because all the resources are online. That's just a
Okay.
matter of walking you through them and giving you, like, sharing the bits. And
Okay. And I'm a detailed note taker, so if you go through it once with me, I'll write down exactly what to do. So I'm just going to copy you. You realize? Right?
oh, okay, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that works. And now because I'm so prepared, I do not have this. Oh, there it is. Folder open, so I don't actually know what we're talking about today.
Ah,
Although genuinely, we can talk about anything you want, like whatever
yeah.
in your head, whatever's happened lately, whatever you got.
Just one sec. Hey guys,
Oh,
do you
children.
want to go watch on your room for a little bit through this call, please? You can grab the iPad too. Yeah, you can play the game. Yeah, babe. Okay, in your room though. Okay. Okay. Yeah, that way it's a little bit quieter. Thanks, buddy.
Cannot remember where I put that spreadsheet.
I can throw a topic out that I would love some input on.
Oh,
Shoot.
sure, absolutely.
So right before I clicked on here, I saw an email come through. My son has an even lower percentage in one of his classes right now than I imagined possible. And so what I've been talking to him about and what I've been, he spent all of last year working from home as a junior in high school. Now he's a senior. He's got senioritis. He could care less about it. He has no plans to go to college, even though it's an option. Like, the function of parenting post massive COVID, like, we're still kind of in it, but like this idea of these kids who had this forceful awareness of what really does and what really doesn't matter, like, is bringing to light, oh, we can't lie about Santa anymore because Santa can't go into everybody's homes because that would be a super spreader event, right?
Never thought about it that way.
Right.
It definitely made the rounds last year. I definitely heard about that.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Santa
yeah.
the super spreader.
Yeah.
The
Yeah,
idea-
how Santa was going to be COVID friendlier. I don't remember what
Oh,
I don't
really?
remember
Yeah.
the guidelines were. I think our provincial health came up with something, don't worry about Santa. He's taking care of himself and he's protected. And
The reindeers are immune, right?
Yeah.
We're good.
and he never goes into people's houses when they're around. He doesn't touch stuff. It's okay.
Well, that's a tough one, Tank. So guidance in terms of how to put him back on the path towards university.
Well, and not even that, right? Like, I'm at the stage now where, because him and I have a pretty good relationship, and I think most parents want as deep a relationship as possible. And at this age, at 16, he's 17 now, like, I have very little influence over him. As they get older, that amount of influence wanes. So I'm not trying to convince him of anything. I'm trying to convince him of convincing himself. Like, what do you want? How do you want your life to look? Because this path isn't going to get you anywhere. So, but normally this is like the conversation I have with dads about, okay, you're out of a divorce and you want to go down a new path. You're just not sure. Do you want to focus on business, focus on relationships? Like, where is your, like, but to do that with a kid, like, they're supposed to be freewheeling, but not this freewheeling.
The thing is, though, 17-year-old boys are kind of parallel to 14-year-old girls. Just because girls mature a little bit faster, boys
Yeah,
have this enormous, I know you guys have experienced this, so you guys have this enormous drag factor in your development because testosterone soaks through your brain and it just changes things. It just makes
Yeah.
things not go at the same speed as they would if you hadn't had that huge lifelong testosterone bath. And at this point, he's kind of in the same position as a 14-year-old girl. And if you were looking at a 14-year-old girl who didn't have any sense of direction, would you be like, oh no, it's an emergency?
right.
No, you're right. The challenge that I see is and I'll just call it what it is. His ego, his drive to do something, whatever it might be in that moment, pushes him forward. And I'm like, well, okay, if you've got the brain of a 14-year-old girl, you still need to pump the brakes, like, because those two collide pretty hard.
I think that's your role right there, Tank. You just nailed it. You are the brakes.
Yeah.
You're the gutter ball. You're the gutters in the bowling alley. You're the brakes.
Little yield sign.
Yeah, you small yield signs here and there. I can't say that you're the emergency brake, or maybe you are the emergency brake.
Yeah, because I have to let him roll. You're right. I've got to let him roll.
Yeah.
But I've got to have my thumb on that trigger of when to pull it.
Yeah, and then how that looks, I think, is probably the most important aspect, right? Like the hey, like the gentle questions, like, what did you plan on doing next year or the year after?
Or after you get back from this fabulous plan you have right now.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, right. I mean, right now what we're in is I've given him, the freedom to get it caught up, and I'm like, okay, so now Dad's going to get involved, and I'm going to show you how to plan, because I assumed he had the mental strength. I'm not going to call it like acuity, but like the possibility to make some plans and then execute and fall off and get back on. So
Yeah.
do that I assumed he would for him. With him, I'm going to basically grab his hand like he's in third grade, and I'm going to walk him to class and just hold his hand through the things that I would have expected. And I think the challenge is like, how much do I do? Then how much do I back off? Because too much, and he's just going to rebel, and not enough, and he's just going to fall flat. And the emergency brake won't be any effect if I don't sit in the car with him.
And you're sort of near the end of the track here too, right? And near the end of the race. So it's not like we can take a long time to react, right? So I think you've got the right idea. Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah.
I think some of it is, it's often really helpful if you can arrange your life so that you're talking to somebody else about it. Like,
Hmm.
oh, I just happened to be on the phone talking to my friend who's struggling with how to put together a plan.
Oh, yeah, right.
So
Or
I'm walking them through the steps.
my neighbor's kid is going through the same thing, and yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, they were trying to explain to their 14-year-old how to do these things. And that's actually kind of the funny thing is if you talk to somebody about their kid who's younger than your kid, they're all like, what do you mean they already know they're doing that? I don't know how to do that.
Hmm.
Peer pressure.
Well,
The
and just that partly getting kids to eavesdrop makes them, the nosy part of them makes them listen better
yeah.
because they're like, what are they talking about? But also that sense that there are younger people who are doing this than me, who are like, this is where they're learning. I'm like, why didn't I learn that when I was that age?
Mm.
But I feel like I've missed something. So maybe would actually end up with a conversation that said, I realized I don't know how to do this. How did you learn how to do this? Because that's a really different conversation than tell me, teach me. Like, where did you find this information? How did you figure out how to do this?
Yeah, that's a really good point. I'm trying to ask a lot of questions, but in the little time I see him, I'm like, dude, what the heck? Like, really? I have to get through that part first, but
Well,
And
this
you can
is
do that part in your head. You don't need to say that out loud.
right.
Hear that.
Hey, this is the classic conundrum, right? Like in my day, my parents would be like, "So the doors are getting bolted shut in about 8 months. Where do you plan on being?"
yeah,
You know what I mean? So I don't think it's the same now. I think we're more supportive and more caring about where they end up and how they go. So it's trickier, right? It's a lot trickier.
yeah. And the good news is, for the longest time, I'm approaching the end of my last 10-year um, plan, right? Like I created a 10-year plan 9.5 years ago when my son graduates high school. That was the end of it. And my goal was almost here. Not accounting for COVID, I think I would have been on track, right? Like I think that had the black swan event got into the psyche of all of my children a little bit. I think it got into all of us, right?
Mm.
Whether, regardless of what side you're on, shutdown happened. And even for me, like just like you were saying, have other people around you to communicate with has been vital. But I would never, I've really tried to put myself in his shoes to go, what's it like to learn to drive when there's nobody on the road? Like now he encounters traffic because there's more out there and he's like, dude, these people suck. And I'm like, no, that's called traffic, buddy. Like he literally learned to drive when there was nobody on the road. So trying to get into that mindset of what would junior year of high school be like from home? Like I struggle with that.
Yeah.
And I have no idea how he's doing. He's doing fabulous aside from some of his grades, but socially and everything else, there's a lot to be.
So let's talk about the grade thing.
Okay.
Generally, grades are an indication of two things: personal and natural interest, just like aptitude, what he's already good at, and whether or not the teacher likes him. So when his grades aren't very good, there's kind of two ways you can go about it. You can say, hey, dude, you should do a lot less of this because it's clearly not your bag. Or is there something going on between you and the teacher that maybe could use some interference or work on or whatever? Because nobody needs to do the things, nobody needs to get mediocre at the stuff they're not good at. That's
Yeah.
not a skill. Like nobody's going to hire you to be not very good at high school math.
Right. It's interesting because I think I have some very direct proof that it's actually neither of those, and that it's a function of, because it's a class that he didn't pass last year, and it's his native language, it's English, and he's retaking it this year, and I am like, we're almost at single digit percentage grade point. And
Yeah.
it's not that he doesn't know what he's doing. It's not that he hasn't seen it before. It's he's one of those kids where if there's no challenge, he has no interest in it. And so it's, I mean, he speaks good English, right? I don't even know what the proper grammar is there. Real goods.
More better good English than you got.
Exactly. But he knows that, and it's not the teaching. Like they put on YouTube videos. All of last year was YouTube videos in almost all of his classes. Like
But
he
that's
does
not
that on
very
his,
engaging.
not at all. So he completely checked out. And then they also told him last year, well, you're going to pass or fail. There's no grades anymore this year because of blah, blah, blah. Like, what incentive is there for this kid to give a rat's butt? Oh my God, not. So,
See,
I
now that
mean,
reminds me, have you read Dumbing Down America?
no, but I'm fully aware of many examples. But tell me
Well,
more.
yeah. Recently I had a 25th anniversary, and the now sadly passed author mentioned in the 25th anniversary that it's more true now than it was when he wrote it. But one of the things that he talked about was that one of the best ways to engage kids in the material is to send them off to school saying, what do you want to know about this?
Hmm.
Rather than what is the teacher trying to get out of you? What is the teacher trying to get into you? What are you curious about here? Go into the classroom, go into the lesson, and wonder about anything. You can wonder why you're doing this stupid novel study, for instance. Like, why would they pick this horrible novel instead of any of the millions of much better novels? Or why are you having to write using this archaic language that you never see anywhere anymore, including in legal documents? Why are we being taught this? And those are like legitimate questions that are worth pursuing the answers to. Maybe not from the teacher, but go into the class with the idea that you're going to come out of it with questions that you want answered, and then we'll figure out how to find the answers for you. Or you'll figure out how to find the answers online or with the teacher or whatever. Like we'll figure out how to engage you in at least the material idea of the course, so that you can take more personal ownership of your education.
Yeah, that whole concept has been gone because I've asked him about all his classes and I interact with most of his teachers. It's sad, but I mean, I moved to where I moved so I could be in a specific school district, and this is one of the better ones, and this is horrible. And I can't blame the teachers. I can put some of it at their feet going, this is your job, this is your job, but I know you're getting paid nothing to sit on 30 stinky kids. Oh my God, I do not envy that job.
Well,
But at
and
the
the
same time,
qualifications in some places are absolutely laughable. My ex-brother-in-law got to be a high school math teacher because he had a photography diploma from community college.
Wait, what?
wow.
You don't need a teacher's diploma? You don't need a teacher's degree?
Not in a lot of places in the States.
Wow.
Yeah, they've got barriers to entry. They're not super high, but they bounce around because it really does become a function of where can they actually make change and where can they get some change because there's not enough money in it for them. So it's hard for the kids to look up to them and go, "Oh, you're doing well. Like you're stuck here just like I am." Like I hear that a lot, and that's not really inspiring to a bunch of teenagers.
No.
So,
So
but yeah,
have you considered pursuing the next step rather than finishing this one?
oh yeah. Every option's on the table with him. I'm like, look, if you want to bow out, get your GED, and go do whatever you want to do, or if you want to just stop,
I,
if you want to go get a job, like whatever.
I
Oh,
was actually suggesting if he wants a challenge, go directly into college. Enroll in college classes right now. Don't wait.
hmm, maybe. I mean, it's interesting. Yeah, it's a good point because actually he said he was helping his older cousin do some of his English work and he wrote something for him. I'm like, so clearly this is not the challenge. The content is not the challenge, it's the drive. And he's like, yeah, I guess. Yeah, I don't know if that's where he wants to go, but I will certainly address that. That's, an option I hadn't thought of. I like that.
I know a lot of people who've skipped. In fact, I know two, one with a master's degree and one who's a cardiologist
Oh,
who
geez.
finished neither high school or an undergrad degree.
How does that work?
Well, the master's degree lady she took an international baccalaureate class in grade 11, got invited into an English program at a university. So she didn't do grade 12. She went directly into first year university. And when she was in third year university, she got offered into a master's program. So she didn't finish her 4-year degree. So she graduated her master's in English on her 20th birthday while she was 7 months pregnant with her first kid.
Wow.
Wow. That's
And the
cool.
cardiologist is kind of the same story, except in her third year of pre-med, she decided to do the MCAT to see what it was she needed to study for the following year so that she'd be prepared for it. accidentally aced it and got invited into a med school. So when she was writing her licensing boards, she's like, I don't even have a kindergarten diploma. This is for all the marbles.
Wow.
Yeah.
I like that. Accidentally aced it.
Yeah,
Oops.
but she didn't expect to. She was just seeing how the test went. She figured it was eight hours of her time and $1,000. She was worth it to find out what she needed to do for next year.
That's a good investment right there.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, saved herself a year of school tuition, among other things.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
So
Yeah,
there are ways of jumping over the last hurdles. If you, I mean, it sounds like you think he's way beyond the work anyways. Do a Doogie Howser and just skip it. Go on to the next set.
yeah. I think part of the yeah. I'm gonna definitely address that. I'll talk to him about that. I still think there's some motivation things that need to come back, and it really is just a matter of finding what that is for him. He's now back in school this year. We're about a month and change in, and he's enjoying it. I think the social aspect has really turned him around. I think if some of his classmates find out how bad he's doing the second time around in English, I think that might kick his butt a little bit. But yeah, that's interesting. I don't know if school is actually his end goal or his next goal, but it might be a challenge that he might consider. I like that a lot.
A different way of approaching it.
Yeah.
This is actually often the period of time when the newness has worn off the year and everybody starts being like, ah, the end is coming.
Yeah, he's got none of that freak out. He's not, yeah, that's the thing is,
No, you have it.
oh, I have it? Oh, I'm not, I don't, he's welcome to stay with me. That's what I started to say about my 10-year plan. I told all my kids, when Tank Jr. graduates, I don't know what I'm going to do. Y'all are welcome. If I stay, you're welcome to stay. If I go somewhere, you're welcome to come with me. I don't know what it is. Just know that something might happen. They've known that for years. So maybe he might be feeling like he has to make a decision, but I am not at all worried about it. Like,
Oh,
I just have to make a new 10-year plan. I'm like, oh, I better start working on that.
That's awesome. Do you talk about that kind of planning, like around the dinner table or whatever? Like how you're progressing through your plan, how you came up with your plan?
About how we're progressing, not so much how we came up with it. Well, maybe. I think the whole backstory of how I got into parenting coaching and their mom and everything, I think that kind of had led them to understand my goal was to get them through school. That's kind of a subtext through the whole thing. But what my plan is, because I don't know, like what I'm doing next. Yeah, they're aware that, me and my partner, we like to go dig rocks out of the ground, and we like to do some little bit of traveling. Like they know that we're out doing stuff. So, and we talk about, hey, if we were to move and we were to go up into more of the mountain area, would that be cooler, or should we move into a house in the city? Like, so we're throwing ideas and getting input from all of the kids, to figure out how big of a place we need to buy. Are you coming or not? I need to know. Commit now.
Yeah. Are you going to visit a lot? Do you need a bedroom or can you sleep on the couch?
Right. So yeah, they're pretty aware, maybe not labeled as such, but the conversations happen, sure, for sure.
Cool. Do you have those
Yeah.
conversations, Mark?
uh, at 9 and 7, not not with the end goal in mind for sure, but more the short term stuff. Yeah, how are we going to get through tomorrow? How are we going to get through the weekend? Like what's your plan to finish your homework for the night, type of thing. And with my older kids, luckily when it came to school, they were pretty self-motivated. Like there was just no the tactic I always used, and I think my parents used, was uh, passive aggressive, basically. More of a so what's your plan type of thing, right? And so which university are you going? So less passive aggressive, I'd say, and more of an assumption
Yeah.
that this was what was going to happen.
Mhm.
And if you're going to veer off that path, then we should probably talk about it, because I assumed, and didn't you assume, that you were going to get your PhD in thermonuclear dynamics or something, and just put that assumption in everybody's head. So yeah, that's the tactic I've been taking.
I did a bit of that with my kids. I used to say, when you grow up and move out of the house. I
Yeah,
never
yeah.
said if. I always said when.
Yeah.
Just, putting it out there. I didn't no urgency. You can stay as long as you want. You can come back if you need to, whatever. But
Which
just
which
when
street are
grow
you
up
going to live on?
yeah. when you grow up and move out of the house, you can have as many dogs as you want, or as that your landlord will let you have. When you grow up and move out of the house, you can move the living room furniture anywhere you want it.
Yeah. Right. Tank, have you used that type of tactic with your kids? Like just more of a provide them with a limited amount of choices?
Have I provided them with a limited amount of choices?
Like your options are the moon or the stars
Yeah, I think
type of thing.
maybe early on I feel like I might have, but as they've kind of grown into who they are, I find myself actually helping them navigate more post decision. This is what I've decided. Okay, well, let's talk about how to maximize that.
Okay.
That's kind of actually, it's a good question. It's making me think. I think that's kind of how I've decided to parent for the last probably 7 to 10 years, which is you can do whatever you want. I want you to maximize. I want you to be happy. I want you to figure that out because, as you guys know, I'm a magician and I've got all these other things. I'm a coach and I'm like, this is not your life. Like
Right.
my life is not yours. So let's figure out what you like, what you're into. And I've supported every endeavor as best I could, but I've always done it after the choice was made.
Interesting.
Which I feel like well, I know it has some ups and downs. A lot of times the downs are, oh my God, that was a stupid choice, but let's make it good. But I think it also gives them that sense of price, right? They have to know the price they're going to pay.
Consequences. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah,
So that's how I think I've done it.
interesting. There's a
Well,
period of time, and your youngest is probably in there somewhere, right after the brain development kind of grows back in, after they've stopped being completely alien and bizarre, where they suddenly perceive 8 million, 100 gazillion choices and recognize probably for the first time that if they do this, they've shut the door for that.
Hmm.
And that's a really daunting period because everybody wants everybody to be certain all the time. And that level of uncertainty is really mind blowing. Once you realize that there are people who are getting paid to design the way the webcam looks and everything else you can see, it just turns into this huge universe of possibilities, which of course is daunting enough by itself.
Right.
But if you decide to go, I'm going to invest my time and energy into hockey, you don't get to invest your time and energy into poetry, or like every door you close changes what you have available to you as a choice later. So part of the problem at that age is that they are just so overwhelmed by the number of choices at the same time that they're super hesitant to cut anything off yet. I don't want to chop things off. And that can actually be a little bit paralyzing. So they end up being afraid of failing, being afraid of limiting their choices while their actions are actually creating the failure and limiting their choices.
Yeah, that carries into adulthood. I deal with a lot of people who have that as well, especially after a big change like a divorce or relationship shift or whatever. Like that's so true. Like if I do this, then I can't do those things. Well, do you want to do those things? Well, not necessarily. I always get stuck on that point. I'm like, so why are we talking about that? But you're right. It's just that function of the mind that recognizes action A necessitates change.
Elimination of XYZ.
Yeah.
Just because you can't have both ends of the alphabet at the same time. Or you can have a couple of ends of the alphabet, but you don't get all 26 at once.
Right.
At once is the key, because you can get a lot of them. You can, make a mistake. I don't like this, and I can turn around or turn, change direction at any point. Yeah. You know what I really like about what you're doing, Tank, is I think you're going to grow healthy children that are going to have an understanding of their consequences, of their choices and the consequences, as opposed to heavy-handed guidance, making them, telling them what to do, type of thing.
Well, and creating that reactivity, which is either I have to do everything somebody else wants me to do, my whole life is frustrating, or I never do anything that other people want me to do, and my whole life is frustrating. Like you're sort of paving the way for the freedom to discover for themselves who they want to be and what they want to do, and to be able to, trip over a couple of things on the way.
Yeah, and I would rather them trip now and eat some dirt when they're young and I can still help them. I'm still here, right? Rather than them be blindsided by this because I've coddled them 10, 15 years down the road. I'm no longer here, maybe, or, they have, like my oldest has a couple of kids, and I'm a grandfather of two little ones, and her alphabet of choices is severely limited. So, yeah, I mean, trying to make them make some mistakes has really been something that I have absolutely focused on doing, is like, please, you're going to fail. Let's fail while you're under my umbrella.
Mm-hmm.
Fail while it's small and cheap,
Yeah. The
as
lessons are
opposed to
big.
getting, your law degree or your accounting certification or something, and then ending up 40 massively in debt with a whole life that relies on that money, and you hate it and don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah, all you want to do is
Terrible
play
place to
hockey.
be.
Yeah. So I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, that's really been a huge focus of mine. Is this is what I try and teach people too, is tomorrow's promised to no one. So if you're gone, do the kids have what they need?
Mhm.
Like, have you set your wheels in motion that they will carry on without you? And that's a hard conversation to have with another adult, but it's even trickier with kids because you got to wait till they hit a certain age, because that can put some real unwarranted fear into them.
Yeah.
But I think that's important for them to have, like, hey, this is going to be your life. Right now, you free rent, free food, come and go as you please. But at some point, those dishes have to get done.
Yeah. I thought of something in the middle of that. Oh, the other thing, I mean, tomorrow's guaranteed no one, but that sense of urgency, you have to figure it all out by the time you're 18. It amuses me because one of the things that I read a long time ago was when you get to 40 and you're worried about life and why you're stuck doing this and who you are really and all that other stuff. The question is, would you let an 18-year-old do your career planning for you now?
That's a great question. Hell no.
Please no. Please no.
So take the heat off a little bit.
Yeah.
If you're going to live 70 or 80 or 90 years, depending on the heritage your family has, you probably have a lot of time to do a lot of different things. And the average person has 5 separate careers now. Because we aren't working for 25 years and retiring for 5 and dying. We're working for 30 and 40 and 50 years. So 10 or 12 years at one thing is kind of enough for most people. They somehow move in a different direction after a while because.
Well, thank you, Linda. You make me feel a lot better now. I didn't retire from the Navy after 40 years, or like my father did. So I've been bouncing around every 10 years or so. Yeah.
It's really common now.
Yeah, 10 years is a long time, especially with the younger generation. Like 2 to 3 is dependent. I would imagine as you get younger, yeah, I'll try this for a couple of years.
Right.
And then
months.
Yeah.
Or, if it's retail, days.
Right. Well,
My
I
daughter
can tell
had
you,
one job for 2 days. Yeah.
oh no. What I really like is that you're creating people who make choices. And, I think I woke up when I was 30. You've said 40 a couple of times, Linda, but for me, 30 was whoa, where am I? What am I doing? Type of,
How did I get here?
yeah, how did I get here? I didn't make any choices. I didn't feel like I made any choices. So if you can accelerate that process, and they're like 24, 23, younger than 30, and they felt like they were in control, and they understood that they had made that choice and failed or succeeded, whatever it was, and were able to learn from that. And I think part of it is creating that sense of control in your own mind, right? So yeah, I you know what? I'm taking notes here mentally,
Good.
Tank. Yeah.
I'll let you know how it pans out.
Yeah, they may live with you a little bit longer, but is that worth it? Is that worth it?
And is that
fair
actually
question.
a problem? Like,
Is that a problem?
why would
Yeah.
it be bad for a novice adult to have a really strong support system in their house?
Yeah.
It's so weird that you say that. Like my middle daughter, who is her birthday's actually my oldest daughter's birthday is today, and in a week it'll be my other daughter's birthday, and she'll be 20, and she can't wait to move out. She's got a boyfriend she's had longer than any other boyfriend, and as much as I want her to spread her wings and fly, I'm like, we're at the peak, the highest price market in real estate. And this, now you're like, I get the giddy love and he's the one for me, and we're gonna but oh my God, like there's so many little nuggets of just timing that as the adult, I can see 7 or 8, 10 different things where she's got that television. So I found myself going, really, you want to move out? Are you sure? Like trying to bring her back in, which might, for the longest time, I'm like, yeah, shoot. But I'm just like, oh, I can't believe I've created this.
Isn't it amazing how the subconscious works, Tank? When you went tunnel, you created a heart.
Oh, did I? I'm used to doing, okay, that's awesome. I didn't see that. That's good.
That is
Yeah.
awesome.
Your body language knows more than you think you do.
So true, so true. But yeah, like to your point, it doesn't matter if they come or go, right? Like I've created my life and their life such that they will always have a home. And I just want them to make good decisions, and I'll be here when they make the bad ones.
Right.
Hopefully I'll have the insurance to cover it.
Good.
But
Yeah. It's an interesting topic, that the idea that we have so much influence in our kids' heads and in their lives. And then at some point that flips into, they have a lot of influence in our heads and in our lives, because their
Oh, yeah.
choices change how we live and change how we think about the world. And it's interesting when it flips that way. It goes from, we bring the world to our children, or bring our children to the world. And then as they get into their teen years, they bring the world to us, and they make us more youthful and more flexible. And
that is so true. Oh my goodness. Like one of my highlights of my day is when my son comes home and tells me about the antics of him and his friends from school or this or that. Like I get taken back a little bit, and I cherish that, because I don't get to do that anymore. A, and B, it's really good to see him having those stories. And something I know a lot of parents and don't have, and I know, Mark, part of your second round version of this, which a lot of parents I think don't realize they miss, is when your kid comes and talks to you and shares what him and his friends did, no matter how stupid or silly or dangerous it was. Like that is a gift that I am so blessed to know that I have, and I know a lot of people miss out on that. So that trust level that has to be there, so critical. So I'm really grateful that I still have that gift.
Yeah, and it's probably a well-earned gift. It's you've probably developed them the
really
right way.
strong jaw muscles,
Yeah,
Yeah.
not talking.
right.
Uh,
Just listen, right?
Yeah.
well, it's interesting too, because the divorce and the custody battle in my whole story lent to that, because they had a really good example and had a really not so good example, and whether I wanted it or not, I had to be the good example. Like just my being, well, okay, this is my role, and I had to be strong. I had to be the one they could come to. They had to have trust somewhere in their life, and it all fell on me, which I'm so grateful for. But I recognized that early on, and that was the best gift I ever had, was knowing everything that happens is in my favor if I just choose to perceive it as such. And yeah, I've chewed through some pens and pencils just by grinding my teeth through some of the stuff I've heard and experienced. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
like go ahead.
no, sorry, Tang. I was just going to basically agree with you and say the turning point was taking on that responsibility, right? Like and that's where somebody like myself, like, yeah, the round two for me, I do realize that. And that is
Yeah.
the big difference for me is realizing, oh, kids aren't just something that happened to me. Kids are like my responsibility.
Yeah.
This is a complete change in angle. So I'm not sure if you went through a change, Tank, or if this was just your natural progression to a point. But yeah, that's where I want to be too. That's exactly where I want to be.
Yeah, it's just an awareness. I don't
Yeah.
know. I have seen it both ways, where some people like that's it. It's an intentional thing, and then we all know plenty of people who unintentionally had kids and are just like, oh yeah, those are mine, like right. But and that's what my hierarchy, highest goal, my spiritual vision is to end the karmic cycle of suffering, which means don't pass your crap on to them. And so that's where I don't know if I was given that, if I was just touched in the brain, or I fell and it came to me. I don't know how it happened, but that just guided everything from very early for me.
Yeah. I think it's much more common to happen to women, although I have, full disclosure, I know lots of people who have never taken responsibility as parents, regardless of their gender. I know a lot of parents, women, this is a conversation that I've been having my whole parenting career, because I've known other women who had Exactly that. I took responsibility. And they also, the way you said it, feel like they had no choice. Somebody has to do it. And, while Gamer Dad is over there playing with the lads, it's a vacuum that they step into, not inevitably, but because they recognize how much their children need it. But I always appreciate the dads who actually step up and be that responsible, on purpose person, because they recognize how much their kids need it. And whether you fell on your head or dropped onto you from a great height.
And the results, the focus, like there's a lot in it for the dad too. Like it's not just all work. It's like you said, Tank, when they come to you and they hug you randomly. At my age, I'm not looking for deep conversations, or not my age, but at my kid's age. I'm looking for the random hugs and the random kisses goodnight and the high fives and the stuff like that. And you only get that when you put in the time and the effort. And
Absolutely.
that's what I'm progressively trying to get better at and monumentally better at versus the first time. First time it was like, wow, kids happen by accident. Literally, what 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, cool, interesting. Yeah, right. Now it's more of a okay, we got 2. What do we do? What's the plan? How are we going to raise these guys? Right?
We're about to run out of time, so I will wrap it up there. And I think that's a fantastic way to end it. Thanks,
Beautiful.
guys.
Beautiful.
Well,
Thank you.
thank you. We'll see you in 2 weeks, and I'll see you next week.
Awesome. Excellent.
Thanks, guys. Love it.
Bye, Tank. See you.